Due to the graphic nature of some of the topics discussed in this video, viewer discretion is advised.
One of the startling things after the quake was the reporting that occurred in the newspapers and magazines and the language used. It was the language of war. The noise of the earthquake was likened to continual cannon fire. It was said that Napier looked like it had been severely bombed, and comparisons were even made to one of the worst battles of World War I and the destruction of Ypres in Flanders. The New Zealand Freelance even used the word Holocaust to describe the devastation, from its original meaning of total destruction, especially by fire. Even the wounded, and there were hundreds, brought back memories of World War I. Those severely bandaged on stretchers, the white uniformed nurses, the makeshift dressing stations in places like the Botanic Gardens, and the ambulances and any available vehicle commandeered to transport the wounded to assistance. So while Napier says, and said at the time, thank God for the Navy, it was also thank God for old soldiers, because they knew what to do in a catastrophe. They had seen death, they had seen destruction, they had searched bombed out and artilleried buildings for their mates, and they knew how to do that again. And along with the sailors from HMS Veronica, the men who had seen war got stuck in and they got organised. The refugee camps were quickly set up and well run. The evacuations of thousands of people were also done effectively and quickly. But it's what they did next that made all the difference going forward. The Great War had ended just over 12 years earlier, and those men who had served knew all about missing in action and unknown soldiers. Some of them definitely would have written letters to the mothers or wives of mates who were missing in action, presumed dead, and whose bodies were never found. So they were determined to find everyone they possibly could. Now this is actually a bit harder than you might imagine. Falling masonry can cause total destruction of a human body. And the fires, which raged uncontrollably for 36 hours, also cremated some people who were reduced to nothing more than fragments of bone. But no effort was spared to get as many people identified as possible by any means. So every scrap of clothing, every trinket of jewellery, every odd shoe was gathered in the hope that somebody might identify a loved one. Even shop mannequins and carcasses from butcher shops were retrieved just in case. They even took a rapid census of all the survivors in Napier in order to try and account for every single person. And while some took it as an opportunity to escape old lives and old debts and pretend to be dead, most complied in the hope that everyone would be accounted for. So while the exact numbers of dead have fluctuated slightly over the years, and while the exact number may never be known, that doesn't really matter. That so many were found and identified pays tribute to those old soldiers who had not forgotten the lessons of war. So while we thank God for the Navy, we also thank God for old soldiers.
Thank you for watching our story from the Library Vaults today. To learn more about Hawke's Bay history, come into Napier Libraries or visit our website at www.napierlibrary.co.nz. Stay tuned for our next dive into the Library Vaults.